So today I thought I would talk about A Silent Voice. A Silent Voice is an anime film. It's one of my one of my most favorite films in the anime genre. The reason why is because I hadn't actually watched too much anime before A Silent Voice. I watched A Silent Voice, and now I'm a full blown weeb at this point. So yeah, this is what it's done to me. This film has just broken me. I used to laugh at people who would watch Japanese cartoons, adult males who would watch Japanese cartoons, and now I'm one of these adult males who watch Japanese cartoons, and I don't care because Silent Voice is honestly so good, and I'm going to be talking about that today. So, for a brief summary, sorry for that very long intro. A brief summary. Silent Voice is a film about it's focused around a girl called Shoko Nishimiya. Shoko is deaf and she is bullied. The main protagonist is a guy called Shoya, and he is the one who bullies her, which is really interesting because usually in most films, the person who's the victim is often the protagonist. So seeing it from the sort of villain side is really interesting. So the story goes. I'm going to try not to delve into any spoilers. I would recommend that you absolutely see this film. It's just so good. So story goes, Shoya, he's got a couple of pals. He's quite a rough and tumble young lad. He's about, I think this is the grade school sort of thing. So maybe 10, 11 years old, maybe early teens, sort of youngish. And he's just quite the troublemaker, quite the sort of the guy that would be the practical joker of the class. And then when Shoko is introduced, she is deaf, as I've said. Uh, I think from what we understand from watching it, I don't think Shoya really sort of understands that, and Shoko is quite naive and tries to become pals with everyone. Shoya is I don't I think they try to sort of portray him as a person who likes her, like like when you're younger and you see a girl that you like, and you're naturally not nice to them because because that's what you did when you were a kid. Like if you saw a girl that you liked, and you would torment them. I think that's what they try to do with a silent voice, but it's really brutal. He bullies her mercilessly. At the start, it's a few things. He trips her up in the hall, and just general rough and tumble things, and then eventually, um, it gets to a point where the bullying gets so bad that he actually hurts her quite severely, because she wears hearing aids, and he pulls them out of her ears, and yeah, so it's pretty bad. But from all of it, Shoko is still quite forgiving, and she still wants to be his friend, and it's quite a shame because Shoya's too immature to sort of see what she's trying to do, and she isn't really very communicative. She can only do it via sign language that nobody can understand, or speak, or writing down in a notebook. Um, so this goes on bullying, and eventually the teacher decides that they should start learning sign language to benefit Shoko, so that she can actually interact with people in the class. Everyone's pretty much against it, apart from one character called Mikio. Mikio, I think that's her name, Mikio Sahara. And she's very up for learning a bit of sign language. Learn to be Shoko's friend. And a lot of the other people in the class sort of ridicule her for that. But nonetheless, they start creating a bond. It's all going well, but unfortunately, Sahara leaves the class. She transfers to another school or something, and then Shoko's by herself again, and that's when the bullying gets really bad, to the point where she actually transfers schools. So at this point, everyone's pointing the finger at Shoya, and Shoya tries to say, "Oh well, it wasn't just me; everyone else was doing it," which lands him in hot water because fly with the crows, get shot with the crows, and yeah, he pretty much then becomes the victim. He becomes the one who gets bullied because of all the he got everyone else in trouble for how he was acting. So the movie fast forwards to adult Shuya, and he's trying, well, adult, sort of teenager, high school, and he's trying to sort of cope with what he done. He realizes what he's done, and he tries to make amends for everything that he has done in his young life. Well, when he was younger. So he's maybe about, I think they were 17, 16, 17 at this point, so they're older. And Shoya is determined to make things right and tries to find Shoko. He finds her. She's attending like a deaf school, and he's actually learned sign language, so he's able to communicate with her. But she's very taken aback by that. She's like, "Well, like you made my life hell for so long. Why are you trying to be my friend now?" And then there's this other character, Yuzuru. Yuzuru is very defensive, in defense in defense of Shoko. Like she tries to protect her, protective. That's the word I meant. Sorry, protect Shoko from Shoya and pretty much anyone because she feels that everyone's trying to bother her all the time. And yes, that's sort of Yuzuru's role. And then there's another character who befriends Shoya. His name is now this is very hard to say. Tomohiro Nagatsuka. Yeah, he's he's in Shoya's class, and he's sort of like a comic relief character, but not so much a comic. Well, maybe, but he's quite funny. I mean, I find him funny. Like he's quite good. He's quite funny, but he's overall just a sort of a buffer, and he's a good guy, and he sort of helps Shoya with his sort of personal development and understanding of what he's done. What he's done to Shoko, and also like how it's affected everyone else around him. Because like at the time, he was just looking out for himself when he was younger, being the young kid that he wasn't taking into consideration what he was doing to Shoko and how it was maybe affecting his mother. Because he in the film it's displayed as he's living with his mum. Doesn't look like there's like any other parents there. So he's got not so he's having to live in that sort of lifestyle. Um, so yeah, so that's the sort of main characters. There's also a few others, and what what they try to do throughout the film is Shoya tries to reconcile with people that he lost in the past after the events with Shoko in school, and how he's trying to better himself and moving forward. And I'm not going to go into like that's pretty much the gist of the film. I'm not going to get into too much detail because obviously that would be spoiling it. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and like I said at the start of this video, it really is such a groundbreaking film for me. With the element of bullying, that sort of hit me hard because I've experienced not to the extent that Shoko has, not like that, but I've experienced it. I've seen it, and it's really good. The director really done a good job of portraying it from a different light. I'd say, like, yes, it's horrible what Shoko went through, but we got to see Shoya's side, and we don't get an explanation as to why he done it, but it's more of how he tries to make amends, which I think is really, really good. I could talk about this film forever. Uh, Art style's amazing, very good. Typical, like I've said in previous film videos, typical anime. It's going to be at a school, but it's not based around the school, which I like because usually that's what they do. Oh, it's at school, that's. But yeah, I mean, you gotta have some leeway. In this case, yes, they do go to school, but it's not the main story, which I like. Um, I think the art style is like it's good. It's quite unique in some aspects, especially for There's a really, really cool thing that they do. I'm not going to spoil it because you need to see that for yourself. But for those of you who've seen it, will know what I'm talking about with regards to Shoya and how he sees the world is very different to how everyone else sees the world. And that's I've never seen that in any other thing that I've watched so far. So that was very, very well done. It displays mental health and depression from his point of view really well. So the film's a 10 out of 10 for me anyway. I loved it. I watched the dubbed version. I know a lot of people don't like dubbed, and a lot of people like subbed. I'm not that bothered. I'm quite indifferent. I've seen things that have been subbed and some things that have been dubbed, and I don't mind. I think it's just a matter of, like, oh, it's better in Japanese. Yeah, it might be, but I like to actually see the film. I don't like to watch the subtitles for 2 hours. Um, so I can see why people would like the original Japanese because it's the original content and it's not like Americanized, which I do get as well. So yeah, so that's pretty much my take on a silent voice. There is absolutely zero cons. Well, I wouldn't say zero cons. Maybe there's a few. Maybe there's something that I've just not thought about, or maybe I've been a bit biased and overlooking the cons because I love this film so much, and I've spoke to a few people who have actually seen it, and I don't think I've had a single bad review from anyone. I've watched a few other YouTubers who've criticised it a bit. Oh, you could have had done this better. It could have done that better. Like, yes, well, they could have done, but you know, it is what it is. I enjoyed it, and I really, really, really suggest, even if you don't like anime, if you think, oh, it's about kids cartoon film, and it's not. But this is really different. It's nothing like anything I'd ever seen. And when I did watch it, like way back a few years ago, my head was just, my brain was just coming in my ears. I was like, whoa, whoa, had the bus. What's going on here? I had to rewatch it. Right, that's actually pretty good. And yeah, here we are a few years later, and I've seen a lot of different things, and I see now why people really regard anime as like a proper art form. Before, no, I wasn't too keen on it. I'd seen a few Studio Ghibli movies, your basic stuff, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, all that sort of thing. But this cut above the rest. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, I would recommend everyone else to go and watch it too. Thanks. Cheers.